Welcome back, folks. Today we are talking about primers. Specifically, what are the differences between, say, a large rifle primer and a small pistol magnum primer? Because it does matter, and you don't want to mix it up. Let's dive in. So the short version is there are basically 8 kinds of primers. I guess is the easiest way to put it. Really, there are more than that, but for normal reloading, there are 8 kinds. Small pistol, small rifle, large pistol, large rifle, and then the magnums of each of those. Really, it's pretty rare you use like a small pistol magnum or even small rifle magnum. It tends to be those are large pistol and large rifle, but they do exist. You also have match primers, which really are just more consistent versions of the regular primers. That's it. They are just, the quality control was a little tighter, right? That's all the match grade means. What are the real differences? Well, there's the obvious. They are physically different sizes. In fact, they are all different sizes. Now, technically, small pistol and small rifle are physically the same dimensions on the outside. They're not the same dimensions in terms of wall thickness and strength and output from the ignition material, the primer material. The small rifle ones are designed to work at a much higher pressure, and they put out a much bigger piece, bigger jet of flame for a longer period of time. So you don't want to mix them up. You don't want to go, well, it fits, it's fine, right? You put a small rifle primer in something that's meant for a small pistol primer, the pressure of your round is going to go up significantly. Now, maybe it doesn't exceed the safe limits, but maybe it does. Depends on what you were loading. Small rifle is meant for rifles. The primer is physically harder. It may not go off in some of your handguns. They just aren't designed to set off that harder primer. Large rifle primers and large pistol primers are different dimensions. A large pistol primer will not sit high enough in the pocket. They are physically different sizes, different pressure ratings, and different ignition amounts. A large rifle primer is putting out a much bigger piece of flame than large pistol. So you really don't want to use a large pistol primer in a rifle. Now, going the other way, if you use a small rifle or a large rifle primer in a pistol, it's going to stick above that case head. It's not going to be flush or just below. It's going to stick up proud. Not good. Not good at all. Your pistol may not ignite it with the firing pin in some cases because that primer is not designed to go off with that. And if it does, you're going to go up in pressure because of the increase in power from it. Overall, not a good situation. You don't want to mix and match. Now, where it gets really scary is you put a large, let's stick with ones that physically fit properly. You put a small rifle magnum primer, okay, into a small pistol non-magnum primer round. You're gonna have a lot of pressure. That is going to be significantly more pressure than that round was designed to have. Now, are you exceeding the safe rating for your gun? Depends on your gun. If your gun is +P+ rated, you're probably okay. I say probably, because what if you were already loading into the +P realm? Yeah, so don't do it. There is published load data by individuals, not by the corporations, for various mismatches. People do this, particularly when they're doing like really hot rifle rounds in a particular size. They'll use the small rifle magnums instead of the regular because they're trying to get more complete ignition. Or if you're using ball powder is notoriously hard to get to burn correctly. It's a little more common in military applications because they want the consistency it gives and the reliability it gives, but it is not easy to get to burn, which is why you also have, and I remember I said there was 8, but then there's others. There are military primers, there are primers designed for particular applications. A lot of military primers are harder than the civilian primers. They're harder to get to go off. The primer pocket itself requires a stronger impact, but also they're more intense. They're designed to go off, a longer shelf life, more resistant to humidity and moisture and issues. So it's It's basically like a magnum primer. So you have to be aware of that. If you buy those primers, you have to know, like, hey, this load is safe with these primers. Do not bullshit this. Do not just, oh yeah, it'll be fine. Don't do it. When you see somebody's published load, be skeptical. Read the comments below of the 20 other people who are like, whoa, hold on. Or, yeah, I tried it, it worked fine. And then keep in mind what guns they're using. Because if they're using a firearm that's different from what you're going to use, all bets are off, right? And keep an eye on things like, hey, what case did they use, right? Different brands of cases are different. Might be the same cartridge, same caliber. A Hornady case, a Winchester case, and a Lapua case are not the same. How many times has it been used? Is this a fresh case or is this a 4 times fired case, right? You know, is that primer pocket already a little stretched out, or is it brand new and tight? It matters. Now, one of the key things that the Magnum primers do that differentiates them from their standard partner, it is a more significant flame. Longer usually, but also bigger. Now the key is, if you have a rifle round, particularly, this is more obvious in rifles. Imagine you have a 308, right? That's a large rifle primer. Now you have a 338 Lapua, right? Much bigger case. And you're trying to get consistent ignition of that powder. But you want to put more of that powder igniting at once. You want a bigger flame running longer to get complete and good ignition on that powder in that bigger case. But on the other hand, if you put that Magnum primer in the 308, you're burning too much of your powder at once. You're going to spike the pressure curve and do bad things. Same thing in pistol rounds. You'll see Magnum pistol primers used in the taller revolver cases very commonly. You'll very rarely, even in powerful rounds, see them used in the shorter, stubbier cases. Because the shorter, stubbier case, the regular primer is doing a good enough job on ignition. When you have a taller case, more depth of powder that has to get ignited, they use the Magnum primers. Read the manual, read the published load data from the manufacturers, and make your choice. But my choice has always been, I stick with the published load data from the manufacturers. If I want to play around, I do it very carefully by increasing my powder amounts without playing with anything else. And then if I'm going to go more or less seating depth, I'm very careful and I back off my powder charge. All these things play together to create a pressure curve. And if you alter one of them, and sometimes you can alter it in the direction you think is going to lower the pressure, and it doesn't, okay? If you increase your seating depth on a bullet, you're putting the bullet further into the case, right? That can increase your pressure. But if you seat it further out, that can also increase your pressure. It just depends on other factors. Did you suddenly put that bullet in contact with the rifling? Well, that's going to massively increase your pressure. Oh, but you put it in so far, there's no air gap in that case. It's compressed load. Well, that's also going to increase pressure. Did you do that and then crimp it? Okay. Did you do that, crimp it, and then put it in a rifle with a little tighter chamber? Well, now you got a lot more pressure. Every time you make a change, back off a little bit, reevaluate, start fresh. Personally, I like sticking with published load data as much as I can because that little percentage I'm gaining, for my purposes, not relevant. Now, if I'm competing in PRS or something where squeaking out that last few percent really actually does matter, yeah, those guys push the envelope and they do it carefully. So anyway, take care, have fun, stay safe. I hope that was informative. The powder video about slow and fast powders has been very popular for an ongoing time. So I figured we would do one related to primers. Take care, guys.